Awesome. Right, we're all set. Yeah. So you were telling me before I started recording, you were telling me about how people you knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Very early, like, people who influenced me on that very, like, personal level, and people who very much inspired me to kind of just step it up and step into the uncomfortable areas of, pushing the status quo and actually realizing that palatable climate activism won't change the world. And people like Louis, and because I met Louis in Bournemouth, we went on like a march, and I think it was after he'd done the Rebellion of One, because I was meant to do that, and I like last minute I was just like, you know what, I'm not like ready for this, because that was when I was like 18, 19. I wasn't ready to like just kind of put myself out there. But then I met Louis after that, and then when I went to uni and I met Eddie, who has always just been one step ahead, it seems. And I was always, like at the very start of getting into activism, and like when JSO started, I was always like a little bit like, oh, I don't know if that's a good thing that they're doing, and that kind of just being critical. And it wasn't perfect, therefore I couldn't join it. But yeah, like meeting people on like a personal basis, I think, is what has like made me step it up a notch, and get on that escalator to like civil resistance. And I think it's only through like meeting people and like making connections and realizing that like these movements are literally just made up of ordinary people doing their best. That is what has made me like, dedicate a lot of time for Just a Boil.
Well, do you want to tell us maybe a bit about who you are? Your name, what were you doing before you got into climate activism, and what have you had to put on hold for your activism?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Emma de Sarem. I'm 22. I am currently the president of my student union in Exeter. I did history undergraduate, which was great because I literally spent like 3 years just like reading about revolutions and social movements, which was just great fun.
Have you got a favourite revolution?
Gosh, I do like to create hierarchies. I think like
Or a top three?
Yeah, top three. I think like the Glorious Revolution, which is like contested as to whether it's a revolution, but I fully think it was, which was like, when was it, like 1688, 89? That was fun. I think...
Well, which country was that in? Was that in the UK?
Yeah.
I know we had a revolution in the UK.
Yeah, that was fun. I've actually got a book here, which I'm going to show your audience. This is a good one. It literally just goes through like loads of different revolutions globally. It's called Revolutions by Peter Furtado, and it's like how they changed history and what they mean today. And it's also got pictures. I think the Russian Revolution is fun to study because it's just so like complicated, and it's often like oversimplified. But I think like the role of like women in that revolution was pretty solid. And then I think like the Arab Spring is really interesting to look at, especially from because I studied a lot like thematically about like the role of like emotions and like symbolism and all that kind of stuff in like different revolutions, and like compared them. So it's often about like themes rather than like just looking at like revolutions in isolation. And I think like the Arab Spring is really interesting because it was kind of like the first kind of proper time that like Facebook and like technology.
What you were saying there is about the Arab Spring, and I found that so interesting as well because it literally Facebook, like for the first time ever, like social media was like partly used to overthrow a government. Like there's the groups organised through social medias and Facebook, that which I found it very incredible. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating, and like part of what I studied with that revolution was like literally like looking at like oral histories as well, because that was like really strong in kind of documenting that period of like all these protests and like the domino effect that happened. Um and there's just so many parallels in all of these different historic periods where like, you know, it's all the same stuff happening, and like, but yeah, it feels so different. But what runs through all of them is like, you know, political and economic collapse, like food prices and all that, this kind of stuff is happening. And like this, it's all happening now. Like the context for like revolution or like mass social change is happening right now. And then finally, like, I know I've already done like three, but like 1968 is just quite cool, because obviously you're seeing like a lot of students like rising up, and like the intersections of all the different kind of social justice movements kind of coming together with like women's rights and like anti-racism and like decolonization and stuff is all kind of happening at the same time. um and yeah, like what runs throughout all of them is people who are like very like dedicated to the cause, but also that mass, like that critical mass of people, plus a lot of, you know, just it is like mobilization, right? It's what like we are trying to do right now, like, is what the climate movement's trying to do right now. But obviously what's different about right now is that we're not just trying to push for a change of government, we're trying to push for like the survival of our species. So I think that's always really interesting, like looking back at like theory and like looking at like whatever and like placing that into the context of the climate emergency. um so yeah, history's fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of history as well. Really am. It's very interesting to me.
Mm.
Um, what was I
Oh, and
supposed to...
what was I doing before climate activism? That was the question. Or like what have I put on hold? Gosh, I think, you know, I like not often. I sometimes like think like, you know, what would I be doing if we didn't have this to do? But then I think, well, everyone through history, like that has always been, you know, something that has had to be fought. Um, and there have been people who have had to step up into action, and have like dedicated their lives to it. I mean, before I got into like climate activism, I did quite a lot of like theatre-y stuff. You know, I just did like the local like plays and like dance shows, and I loved doing that. I always felt like a little bit, I don't know. Like I've only just found out that I have like, or like it's gonna take 6 years, but I recently found out that I have like, or I am autistic and have ADHD, and I think looking back at like what I was doing for climate activism and like how I felt about just like the world and how I like navigated the world, I'm only starting to like see how like my youth was kind of like impacted by that quite a lot, but without the knowledge. Um, but yeah, you know, I was like a very hard worker at school. Um, you know, I was like that one. Always very like obedient, I guess, to authority. Always kind of like going the extra mile to make sure that I got my A stars. Worked just very hard in terms of like I had about like for a couple of summers I had like 5 part-time jobs. More, I think some of it was like a little bit competitive with my brother, because my brother got his first job when he was 16, so I wanted to get my first job when I was 15, which was ironically at a petrol station. So, you know, started off my life selling petrol, and now I'm, you know, trying to just stop oil. But yeah, I worked as like a receptionist, a lifeguard, a waitress. And yeah, I just like, I had a very strong work ethic. Because I don't know what I was saving money for. I think I always had like a grand dream of going and doing loads of travelling. And, you know, having like a gap year and stuff. But then obviously COVID happened, so that kind of set me back. And then I started reading more about the climate crisis, and I was like, screw travelling. So yeah, and then also like running parallel to all of that, I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was like just turned 16. And that sucked. Like that illness. You know, I was basically like, I feel mentally like I'm about 18 because I missed out and because I was basically like out of office for like 3 years, like recovering, and just going like back and forth and like relapsing and yeah. But
Can I ask you a bit about the anorexia?
yeah, no, sure.
So I don't know much about it. Obviously, is that's where you feel like you're fat and you basically starve yourself.
Yeah, basically like I mean it's different. There's a lot of different types, and like eating disorders are such a huge spectrum. And most people with eating disorders aren't actually underweight. It's like such a small percentage. I think it's definitely under 10%. But no, I had just plain up anorexia. So I just basically was losing weight rapidly, to the point where I don't want to like trigger warning. If you could put a trigger warning in the description, that'd be great. But yeah, like it got to the point where like I wasn't allowed to like walk, and I was kind of like compulsively like exercising and like just consuming near to nothing. And like again, like not all eating disorders are the same. But yeah, I just had this idea in my head that I was like you know, I looked a certain way. I you know, incredibly body dysmorphic, as they say, and just a compulsion. And a lot of it, like the reason for it isn't always just wanting to look a certain way. Sadly for me, that was part of it because I think I also like got onto Instagram too early, and I like it was ridiculous. And I remember I also broke up. I had like a long-ish term relationship, and that provided me with like a lot of like security, I guess. And then when that ended, I just had this compulsion to like be really skinny and look like a model, and also like a control mechanism. And actually right now it's like really liberating to talk about it because I started off like, I guess, any kind of engagement with politics because of mental health stuff. And yeah, I basically was just like in the gym like for a long time every day and just wanting to be nothing. I just wanted to run myself to the ground. I just wanted to, I guess it's a way of slowly killing yourself because like anorexia has the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, and or one of, it's still very much up. The last time I checked, and that was like a couple of years ago. But yeah, it was just this like desire to like just hurt myself, I guess. It's like it is a form of self-harm, right? But it was also control. I think it was when everything felt very like out of control, it was like the one thing in your world that you can like latch onto, and it's like you, like no one is gonna hurt you. But I've recently like started making the connection between that and now using my body as a force for good with like direct action. I'm writing a little bit about it at the moment, but it's kind of this switch between, you know, when I was 16, 17, 18, I just wanted to not exist. But now, like, my body is the most powerful tool I have against mass genocide because of the government, like, agenda.
You are young and able-bodied in the most crucial moment in all of human history. You have no children, you have no mortgage, I assume, and, you know, like, what else are you going to do? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's really... Thank you for sharing that with me, by the way. That was... It was interesting to have that insight into you, and if you want to continue, you can continue sharing.
Yeah, no, like the last little thing I'll say is, and I said it in the emergency welcome talk. There was just like this moment when I was slow marching with the students on like the last day of the 13 weeks, and we will be back for anyone watching. We will be back in, is it October?
Oh, like, God damn, sorry, I can't go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well,
I just,
well, this is
this
yeah.
is my, sorry.
You've done your like. Whew. But yeah, we will be back. So you should sign up at juststopoil.org. But yeah, like there was just this moment where I realised, like, wow, there was one stage in my life a few years ago where I like literally wouldn't be allowed to even walk down the street, and now I'm walking down in the street, holding a banner, and saying and like putting my body in front of the harm, and it's just that I think like it is a very like anyone who's had like an eating disorder will know that every day is still like a battle. But it's how you can kind of like manage that and still like be able to like use your body and like heal that relationship with your body. And I think actually doing direct action has been a great healer in many ways.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times. I've heard quite a few people say that now on the show.
Wow. We should start a club.
I want to I want to cut straight to the point, right? I'm of the belief now that we need a global non-violent revolution replacing all governments with a citizens' assembly, and also overthrowing the power of money, the central banks and all corporations, and also solving all the movement's demands, like all the injustices in the world. We have to do them all at the same time in one go. And that might sound ridiculous, but I've begun to feel like it's the only way that it can happen. If we just, it's the only thing that would unite everybody, and that's what I'm trying to do here. This is a melting pot of ideas. Do you want to give your 2 piece on the current situation of failing governments and corporations destroying the world?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Sign me up. No, the status quo is so messed up, but yeah, anyone who wants, but the status quo is literally like so destructive, and it's like anyone who wants to like challenge that is seen as like some utopian, like, it's just, oh, that's, that won't happen, like we have to just do it, like we have to like talk to Shell, we have to like negotiate with BP, and it's like, no, we need a massive shake-up of the system. We need to unite like 100%. Sorry, I'm so out of it, but like 100%. We need like a global revolution. We need like, I think we need everyone who has the resources to take part. There's a lot of like groundwork that needs to be done, right? Because what's stopping people from getting involved with like Just Stop Oil and like taking time out of work to do stuff is like the status quo and like capitalism and like bills and like economic insecurity, right? So people need to kind of know that our network needs to be so strong that people can take time out and be part of this revolution. Like we need a network strong enough to do that, like on a global scale. And it's like, yeah, please.
So imagine if we set up hypothetically, by the way, for legal purposes, we set up a parallel government. So like a secondary government. So we're not even dismantling the old government. We're going to create a new one, a citizens' assembly, and we give ourselves the authority. Like we don't ask for the authority from the government or the king or from the judges. We just create our own authority, and it'd get shut. Obviously, the government would come after it full force, but you just need massive amounts of people in civil resistance to keep it going and to blockade I don't know. And it'd be a people's assembly, like by the people, and they could issue arrest warrants for different CEOs and different politicians, and try to do it by the book, by the UK legal system, and just create a competitive government. And what you'd have to do to get the entire country on side is what you'd need. You would have to find a way of doing everything that government is supposed to do, but better.
Mm.
So if you can find a way of doing everything that the government's supposed to do, but better. So if you're meeting everyone's needs, and that means so much. That means like running the National Health Service, or funding National Health Service, or like providing providing much cheaper. You'd have to provide so much. Do you know what I mean? You have to like take people's bins out, repair the roads, like schools, hospitals. Like there's a lot on that list. But if we could if we could create a parallel government that did all those things for the people and say, oh, you don't need that expensive waste of time over there anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just an idea I'm bouncing around off people.
No, I think that like people in general are just like so done with the Tories. I'd really like, but there's just this, I don't know, the mood is just so like, let's just deal with it. Like, and especially like, you look at the protests in like Paris and stuff, like people are angry and they show that and they get out on the streets. Whereas what do? Like, watch Netflix and like wait for it all to blow over. And it like our attention is just like sucked from our reality.
I would say deliberately.
Oh yeah.
I would say the media and Netflix and social medias are designed to do that to people.
Yeah, and I think like taking over those platforms, I guess, is like also really essential, and I think that's why doing, disrupting these spaces of the status quo of like, the football, the rugby, the opera, it's like you are creating that psychological disruption and getting people engaged.
I just want to say something. You said about disrupting like Netflix and the thing is, I think I'm not sure how this is a very complicated thing, but you can't like outright ban Netflix.
Oh no
because
Yeah.
But Netflix is like the reason people go to Netflix is because they have a business model that works, and they provide people a service. Like you want to avoid like it's towing the line, but like how do you change the world without taking away people's freedoms? Do you know what I mean? Like
the age-old question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'm starting to think that you will have to people will have to lose some freedoms, but like only for good reasons.
All of this like it just takes just bravery and courage for people to actually come up with these ideas, and to be fully committed to them, and I think a lot of like throughout history, like a lot of this stuff has been led by like young people and like students, and that's why like I am very excited about like the next phase of like the Just Stop Oil campaign, like creating.
I'm so envious right now though. Like,
yeah, but this is really cool because you've got like time to like think and stuff, and
I know,
you're
but
so
like we don't
to the movement.
We don't have any time though.
You don't have any time.
Like, well, with the climate crisis.
Yeah, I know, right.
So, I want to tell you. So, a few weeks ago, I was in Crown Court in Hull for the Port of Dover. So I was able to go down through London. And it just happened to be the last week of slow marches in London for the last action phase, and I was in London with my camera and my microphone, and it was just so like if you look at the podcast as like a business, it was so good for business because I got like Phoebe Plummer, Larch, another one, Alex, and then I got like 20 people's phone numbers in like 2 days.
Nice.
Of like being there. So if I could just be there, full time, and like if I could be at the side of the slow marches as a independent journalist / not really an independent journalist, well, for legal reasons, independent journalist who's not officially protesting, it'd be really good. Anyway, so you were talking about the youth. How is, because I've not been obviously involved with Just Stop Oil's actions for quite a while. How are the numbers looking? Like, is it going up? Is it? You said there's a big thing about youth at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the numbers. I'm just doing my little bit in, my area, my little in Exeter. I mean, like the numbers obviously aren't like they're not enough, right? Like we need more and more people, and we need more people taking further action. But then we just need to be bringing more people on board. And like I think the next focus on like universities and getting like students involved is really exciting. I'm very buzzing for like especially like at Exeter because we are such like a global university in terms of like climate science and climate research. But yeah, they're like partnering with Shell and I think getting students on board with like the demand is going to be so key because obviously like Fridays for Future was huge. Like that was so huge in terms of just like getting governments to declare climate emergencies and just like getting it on the agenda, getting young people involved, and just creating like that network. But I think obviously like post-COVID, like Fridays for Future generations are kind of like absolutely exhausted. Me being like one of those people. And I was in like Budapest like last week, and I was speaking to them about like their climate activism scene because like their democracy is like if ours is bad, like theirs is kind of like a little bit. I don't know. It feels like we're kind of creeping up to that kind of stage of authoritarianism. But like yeah, like
We definitely are.
yeah, it's fun, isn't it? And like their Fridays for Future movement is pretty much like gone now, like post COVID, and that like really scares me. And just like revamping like the youth movement, and like part of that is giving people like the confidence and like empowering people again to take action. But that's only going to kind of like come about on like a mass scale. So I'm just like waffling here. It's been a long day.
This is a place of waffling.
But yeah, no, getting students at the forefront of this change is very important. But that's not to say that we don't need everyone, because we literally need everyone.
Yeah, we do.
It's mad. And yeah, I think looking back at like history, like even like very recent history, like even at my student union, like we used to have like a green committee like doing all this stuff in like 2014, but then it just like stopped. And now we don't have anything.
I want to share something with you. It's an idea almost of when I was in prison last year. I went through like some, I don't know. It's hard to it's not hard to explain, but the way I'd explain it is, a lot of people in the climate movement are taking action out of despair. Like some people think like it's so fucked anyway, and it can't change it, but at least I'm doing the right thing. That's one level people come through, and then other people are acting out of hope. So they're like, I hope if there's a tiny chance I can do this, it's worth doing. I'm in the right position. And when I was in prison, I transitioned to like this whole other level where I went from it's quite a transformational like mindset I went through, where I transitioned from hope into having faith that we're going to do it. And I'm not a religious person, but I think by definition, faith is the belief in something without the need for evidence. And that was such a powerful place to come to, because I literally decided that we are going to do this. We are going to change the world. It doesn't matter if it's past the tipping points have passed, because we can still save billions of lives acting proactively and all the things we could do to save. I'm not going to go over them all over again, because I talk about it all the time podcast, but we could save a lot of lives if we start acting now, or even in 5 years from now, or whenever. But the point is, right, say if you ask a priest, does he hope that God is real? He doesn't hope that God is real. I mean, I'm an atheist, but he knows that God is real. He has faith that his faith is going to happen. And the idea kind of comes from this deeper idea, whereas you must accept that everything you will need and everything you will need to know will be provided to you along the way, and that in fact all the answers that you need are actually within. and it's kind of it's a really deep place to get to, and I've not been there for like getting on 6 months now, because it is. But I've recently decided that I'm going to start meditating every day and get back into like a zone where, because when you get into the headspace where you actually 100% believe that we are going to change the world, for some reason your creativity goes up, your bravery goes up. You just become like, I don't know. A way I can say explain it is you've got your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, and I think when you go into that mindset, you kind of, your unconscious mind begins to work for you. You start to get ideas popping up, you know. And then the rule is you got to take those ideas and run with it, which is where this podcast came from that mindset. But that was a lot to digest.
Thank you for sharing that.
I thought I'd share that.
I wrote some of that down because that was really interesting. And yeah, I very much think that I kind of like go through the different, I like, hopeful,
yeah,
am I just doing it?
So do I.
You know, and I think that's perfectly healthy, natural. I don't know, like we don't know what's right. Like there's no right way to think. But you know, I don't think I like question my motivations anymore. So I guess I am in that state of like, I know that we are going to do something. It's just getting there. And I like my best ideas always come when I'm not actually consciously thinking about changing the world, right? It's not like I'm like, right, okay, let me think of all my ideas. It just comes when I'm like, you know, going for a walk or just doing the most mundane things.
Yeah.
It's just your life.
The last bit of that idea is if we could get all the climate activists to have faith that we are going to change the world, because of the level of your output increases so much, I think we'd actually do it.
Yeah.
If everyone believed we could do it, you know, they'd fucking go for it, like in every possible. I don't know. They'd go. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking shit, but
no, I don't think you are. I think you're not. I don't think you're not. I think we do need that collectiveness and like vision, I guess, and I think that would also help, because obviously like one of the things that, you know, like JSO, whoever like gets criticized for is like the and it is valid, like the urgency culture stuff, but maybe if we knew that we will do it.
The only thing you can control is what you do, right? So I had to take onto my belief system that because I can only control me, so I am going to be a major factor in changing the world. Believing that. If every climate activist believed that about themselves. I saw your Sky News interview recently, well, before you came on. Like, something you said might trigger one person, 1,000 people, you know, and those 1,000 people could all talk to 10 people, and before you know it, you know, one thing you said on the news could change the world. Don't forget that.
No, thanks. I genuinely think that they're like, and I was at this conference recently, like NUS, National Union of Students, and I ran like a little session, like there was like 8 sessions. I ran one on climate action, and you know, out of what, like 250, 300 people, do you know how many people came? 5 people. But was I disappointed? No, we had a great time. We had about like an hour and a half just planning stuff and talking and sharing our experiences, and I didn't come out there feeling frustrated. I think old me might have. I think maybe a year and a half ago, if you told me that I like did like a whole session and only 5 people came, like I would have been like, oh, that's so annoying, like more people. But it's actually like, no, because I had a great intimate time with these 5 people, and we had really good conversations, and we've kept in contact, and you know, those 5 people will go to their 5 different universities and talk to 5 more people, and we have to keep up hope, because and like know that like these small actions will trigger stuff, and that's why I don't give up. And like, you know, if I speak to one person and I have a great conversation with them, like, that is enough. And it's also, I think it's challenging this mindset of like it always needs to be like more and more and more, because isn't that replicating like the same problems that like got us into this situation? So yeah, gotta keep fighting with love.
I think it's in every. As I was thinking, it's in every area, right? Because I've started like talking to. I talk to everyone in my. An example is I've got court fines I've not been paying, and I've got like fucking debt collectors chasing me, and I'm finally setting up about shit to sort it out. But I was talking to this guy who works for a debt collecting agency, and I'm like, "Do you know I'm a climate activist? Why don't you check out my podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
Oh, wow.
And a little chat with him, like. So it's every area of everyone you ground really. You want to have these conversations,
100%.
plant more seeds.
Yeah, no, and like connecting to people's humanity. Like when I went to get my currency the other day for going on my little trip, because I was speaking about climate stuff, and she was like, "Oh, where are you going? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to speak about like climate action. I do stuff with Just a Point." And she was like, "Oh, really? Like that's really cool." And she always like just so nice to me, and it's not the sort of person that I would expect. Like, but you have to kind of like see the capacity to in everyone to be empowered to make change. It's not just about like targeting or like trying to get people involved who you think would be involved. Actually, it's literally about just everyone and anyone, and like talking about it all the time, because like we don't have time to like comply to societal norms.
No. Do you want to hear something pretty funny that happened today?
Please,
Work.
I could do with a lot.
So, well, I did a big reveal today, so I told them my part on Just a Pile, and I filmed the reaction and got that anyway. But I was talking to some of the lads at work there.
Where do you work?
And I'm working construction, so it's just a construction site. But one of the lads, they pointed out one lad, he's Just a Pile, and I'm like, what? No way. Turns out, but this lad is this weekend he's going out on a pub crawl with his uni mates, and the theme is Just a Pile. So that is their theme for their pub crawl. They're all getting the Just a Pile t-shirts and going on a pub crawl as a piss take, turns into Just a Pile.
So fun. What? Oh my gosh.
That's in Leeds this weekend on Saturday.
Wow.
So if you see those lads, like I said to them, like Just a Pile, they're in Leeds University. There's probably like some members of Just a Pile might come along with you.
That's so funny. Wow. I hope they're printing the t-shirts sustainably.
Well, I asked him anyway, if you get any spare t-shirts, bring them back here and give them to me.
Yeah. I saw something similar. I think it was, I don't know, it's like a costume someone did. I don't know, but that's brilliant. I hope they have like a press release or something. But it's just the fact we've even become that iconic. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's great.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something really, really cool, actually?
Yes.
During Insulate Britain, I wore my builder's work gear because they told us they wanted us to dress like teachers, so we've got jobs. And I thought, I've got a job, I'm a builder. So I asked if I could wear my work gear, and I could. So I was wearing a hard hat on the M25. Wow. And I was the only person in Insulate Britain wearing a hard hat and builder's gear. And that Halloween, some lads went as Insulate Britain for Halloween night, and sat in a road, took a picture, and one of them was dressed as a builder. And I was like, oh! Somebody went as me for Halloween. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy.
That is a milestone. That's brilliant.
That is a milestone. I forget about that sometimes. Somebody went as me for Halloween.
And that's like your fun fact.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, yeah, and I think like also, planning the revolution and stuff, like something that I've learned is, obviously kind of just fun is so important, and music and like exciting stuff as well, like alongside just the hard graft. Like, we need to have some happiness and like celebration and partying, because like, even if we are doing all of this, like, we don't have to like live like puritanical boring lives. Like, we need fun, and I think partying and dancing and all of that kind of fun stuff is so crucial. And also just showing people that we are ordinary humans. And I think the fact that there was those like pranksters at the banquet just goes to show like how much And I watched that video.
Was he there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was there, you know.
Were you?
Yeah.
No way.
That was the weekend I could be there.
Wow. Yeah. But I mean, that just goes to show, right, like, these people, like, oppositional, whoever they are, like, they just don't want us to have fun. Like, that's bad.
No, I get it. No, I get the prank. Like, we've been disrupting people's lives. Why? How is it fair that we have a party that's not then disrupted? It's just like, it needs to be done. Like, when I saw that, I was like, fair enough. You know.
Yeah.
You heard
kind
that.
of annoying though. It gave me a massive migraine. But
well, that's the point. Like, you know.
Kind of annoying. A bit like us, I guess.
I'm not. I actually touché to them because I thought it was brilliant, and I commented on their video saying, by the way, members of Just a Poil are now thinking about using your idea for actions. Well done.
Yeah. To be honest, I just watched that and I was just like, it just annoyed me. I don't know.
There's so many amazing people. We know so many of the same people. I bet I could name like 20 or 30 or 40 people that we all know. Like, do you know Kai?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Lucia? It's okay.
Lucia's gonna watch this and they'll be like, yeah, you do. I'm so bad. Like.
Sorry, what does to you then?
With names, because also, like, you know, because we have like our different names and stuff. And I was at an event recently in Bristol, and someone like introduced themselves, and they were like, "I'm such and such," and I was like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And it's like we met, and I was like, "Oh," and then like, after, like just before I left, I was like, "Oh no, I remember you," and I went up to them and I was like, "No, I do remember you." Yeah.
You need to do now. I've got because you just pretend like you've met everyone before and you remember them. That is the best thing to do. Like, you see someone, you don't say nice to meet you, you say good to see you.
Good to see you. That's a really good
because
one.
then they can't confuse you. They can't. Then you can't. No matter what happens, you can't offend them.
That's actually really good. I think sometimes I'm just too honest. Yeah. I mean, my brain's already exploding because, like, at work, like, I'm just forgetting everyone's names and everyone's called the same thing, and then we're gonna have a bunch of like new students come, like, you know, 20,000 students, and like, I'll see
20,000 students.
Yeah, at the university.
What did you do? Do you work in the university?
Well, I work for the student union.
Oh right, yeah, that's right.
And so I'll be walking through town and I'll have a student be like, "Hey Emma," and I'm like, "Hey, you." And they'll be like, "I voted for you," and I'm like, "Thank you so much." And you know, it turns out I like had a meeting with them, like, and it's not good.
Interesting person. I've met a lot of interesting people from doing this. You know.
I mean, I think we're all like, if we're in this space, like, we're gonna be pretty cool, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And I think it's about making the climate movement cool. You know. Like, it is cool.
It is really fucking cool.
And you know what I'm excited about? An event I'm planning at the moment. We're doing like our welcome talk in the Lush, like, you know, Lush, like the ethical.
Yeah.
We're doing it in their store.
Ooh, that's a nice move. That's really clever.
Yeah, because to be fair, it's not like that original, because I did a talk there like not long ago, and I'd always kind of been a bit like, oh, I'm not sure if they would be like receptive. But like, given
of course, they're going to be receptive, you know.
Yeah, radical like animal rights stuff. So that I'm really excited. And it's going to smell nice, and we're going to have some like freebies. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and also,
have you done it?
Yeah.
Have you ever done any? Sorry, you continue.
No, and can't remember what I was going to say. No, it'll just be fun, and like, it's going to be specifically like focused on like students and getting them involved. But yeah, it's just about making it cool. Oh yeah, and it's just funny because, like, you know how, like, when you're doing climate activism, or like you're on the street and then like people shout at you being like, go have a shower, or like climate activists are like smelly and all that stuff. So it's just kind of like funny in a way.
It's fun. Similar thing to that. I was sat there in my builder's work gear and people would shout, get a job. And I was like,
yeah.
I'm literally wearing my work gear. Like, what? Yeah. I don't have to say, you know.
That one is always hard because it's like, you have to like just not say anything, obviously, but it does get me when people are like, get a job, and I'm like, I'm literally on annual leave right now, like, you know, But hey, it's I think it's like a script. It's like a script because people have seen that in the media, like, and they've digested it, and they're like, that's.
It's the same arguments over and over again. Have you not found that? It's just the same argument. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll see what happened today, because I told some builders, and they just don't give a fuck. And then they think I'm wasting. It's just all the same arguments. But your clothes are made of oil. Oh, how did you get here? Have you ever driven a car before? You're a hypocrite.
Oh, well,
It's like,
yeah.
Go on.
No, like, because there was something I did recently, and that was it. Nigel Farage like quote tweeted like one of my testimonials, and then like loads of people had really done their work and were just like on my Instagram, and like they just screenshotted like all the locations of places that I'd been, and like every single one of them I'd got like the train, like, not that it matters, but it was like, oh, you've been to Paris, you've been to Austria, and it's like, yes. But it was just like, and they've been onto like my mum's profile, but I disclaimer, I'd gone all those places by train. But it was just like, I'm not going to go and say like, oh, by the way, because then it just, like, you just kind of get dragged into it. But yeah, like, the comments on that Sky thing as well, Twitter is just an absolute, like, hellscape at the moment. Is it even Twitter anymore?
Do us a favour, we need some trolls on this YouTube channel. Do you want to drop some links, message where all those people are giving you pure shit?
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, I've just been on a podcast, boom. Because I love trolls, do you know what I mean?
Okay, let me write that down.
I love them because they're trying to destroy and damage you, and by all they're doing is putting all their attention into you, which only fuels you more. Like, they're so counterproductive. Like, you know, it's just ridiculous. Well, I remember I was getting like Facebook trolls during Insulated Britain, and I'd look in the post and read the comments and like comment back and like their comments and joke around with them and like, yeah, we're gonna keep going. And then, do you know Gabby?
Yeah, Gabby's amazing.
At one point, me and Gabby were both doing it. We were like trolling the trolls, like taking the piss out of them, like on their own posts.
Oh yeah, Gabby was always very good at doing that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I do think it's funny when I get them on, like, because I'm starting to post stuff on like LinkedIn and really like messing with that platform, because it's just funny because I have like the vice chancellor and like all these people, like important people at the uni, well, conventionally important people at the uni who follow me, and I'll just have like literal like hate comments on my post about climate stuff, and then I'll just like go onto their profile and I can like literally like, message their employer if I wanted to. I just think it takes absolute balls to like be hating on people on like LinkedIn when like your employer can fully see it. And like I've seen people do that before, like report people writing like hate comments when they clearly have like where they work on like their social media profile.
Yeah, it's not clever, that, is it?
No, it's like, come on. Like, if you're gonna do it, like, at least be a little bit smarter about it. Unless you want to lose your job.
I've risked losing my job today.
Oh shit! What did you do? Oh, what? Tell them about.
I showed them my tag. I'm working at a school. Like,
Oh, wow. Like building.
it is a closed school, given. But yeah, I've got a criminal record and I'm on tag, and they've not done a CB check on me. So I mean, I don't know if it would matter if it did, but yeah.
Would that matter in your work? Like having a criminal...
Well, like, I think they've not had to do the CB check because the school is closed. But I think if they bring all the children back whilst we're working in the same area, they might make everyone do the check, and then, yeah.
I don't know, like, and would that be done to like the employer's discretion? Because that's always been my kind of thing.
Well, I don't know how it works, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, my understanding of it was always like if you had like a criminal record and like your employer saw it, you would kind of have potential, like some employers would be like, obviously like for things like working with children or whatever, it's like no. But even then I've heard of people who are like, who have like a criminal record for like climate stuff, and then like they're like teachers, and then they explain what they did, and it was kind of like, oh, okay then.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen with that, but yeah, I hope, like, you know, in the future. I mean, God, I wanna go. Have you heard of what are they called now? Um, sorry, my mind's just gone. Oh, shepherd, ocean shepherd. Is it ocean shepherd?
Sea shepherd.
Sea shepherd. That's it. Sea shepherd. I want to go. I want to go join sea shepherd.
Oh wow.
And can you imagine? Do you reckon the climate activism resume would help with that job application?
Absolutely.
Probably. It absolutely would, wouldn't it?
Actually, funny enough, I did that panel I did at Lush was with someone from Sea Shepherd who I know from uni.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very amazing.
I need to get some of those guys on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if you want me to put you in touch with them, let me know.
Yes, please. We'll do that after this podcast. So since we've got some time, do you want to tell us a bit about what actions you've done that you can talk about, and what was it like going into your first action? Were you first going to get arrested? I mean, I assume you've been arrested before, the way you've been talking. Yeah, no?
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet, okay.
Several reasons, like partly because of my job and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not wanting to lose it yet.
Yeah, fair. That's a pretty good reason. Like, you're stuck in the system that's killing us, like all of us.
Yeah.
I've had to get a job as well.
No, I mean, I'm, can't spill everything on this thing, but I think my role at the moment hasn't actually, yet, I don't know, I've been able to, engage in, a meaningful way where I haven't,
You're a good spokesperson.
Thanks. Yeah, and, sorry, I didn't, but, I always feel like I have to justify it, but actually I'm realising more and more, and, when I, open up about, my mental health stuff as well, I know for me that if I where I'm at the moment in this short period of time, getting, because I was all ready to push to section 12 when I went to slow marching, so I did 3 weeks of slow marching, and I was ready, there was this one day where I was ready for it, and I'd built up to it and everything, but then on the morning I just felt absolutely awful, and I knew that if I was going to be put in a police cell, and I would have been quite, where I'm at the moment, that would have really been incredibly traumatic for me, and I would have come out of that very shaken up, and I probably would have been out of action for a little while to deal with it, and I just don't think that it wasn't necessary. I was able to have, especially with the slow marching action, I was able to have the impact, that action didn't necessitate the arrest at that moment. And especially in my role at the moment, being, this elected student representative, I have, I guess the platform to influence and get more people involved, and the time will come where I am stepping up.
You're smashing it right now, because you're smashing it at spokes of Just Up Oil. You're doing a good job. I've watched some of your stuff, I watched this guy interview, and you're smashing it with your student union, and I assume your mobilisation and stuff like that. You're doing great, yeah. And you don't need to. Not everyone has to get arrested. We need people to network and grow and recruit, and there's people doing time. We've got plenty of arrestable people who want to turn up and just be arrested, like I was. I was like, screw the, all the mobilisation and the rest of it. I'll just do the easy part.
Yeah. And I think it works in waves, right? And I'm just kind of getting closer, and every time, I don't know if that's how a wave works. I'm not a wavy person, but I don't know. I'm just bringing more people along with me, and as I'm going forward, and as I'm going up the escalator of civil resistance, more people are coming up, right? And I will climb up further, and more people will climb up, and I think also I am very conscious of having another relapse, and if I do that, then I will be no use to anyone. It's managing that, and I think just extra stress at the moment. I don't have a free, this is my only free evening where I'm gonna be at home for 2 weeks, because I'm just doing loads of networking and trade union training weekend and ethical finance training with student union people and all this kind of like random stuff, and it's like logistically, like going to court and doing all that kind of stuff is just going to add and like take away from other meaningful things I'm doing. But as I say, the time will come, and that'll be great because, yeah, it's just like shifting like the Overton window of my sphere of influence, if that makes sense. Like people who are like engaged with what I do, it's like, oh, if Emma's getting arrested, it must be quite serious.
Sorry. No, I do understand everything you're saying. You can have much of a great area outreach without being arrested. It's quite similar to what I'm doing right now because I can't be arrested. I'm having to look down all these other avenues, talking with people, networking with people. I think what I've decided I'm going to do next is, because for the last 6 months I've kind of been in like drone mode, dealing with tag and bullshit and life, and I'm going to try and meditate like a little bit every day and try and get back to having faith again that we're going to change the world and bring forth some like new next level creativity that I've not thought of. And you guys as well, because I need to keep up to date with all the latest news and shit like this. But it's so, do you know, here's the thing, right, I just remembered something I want to talk to you about actually, because when I was a spokes, I was playing around with the idea that a spokesperson on the news can change the world. And here's the idea that I had: instead of talking to the presenter, talk in a way that everybody watching knows you're talking directly to them. So in a way, think about bypassing the presenter and talking directly to the audience. I like it that you're writing that down. Actually, that's an important one. Yeah. So here's an example of what I was going to use. You want to write this down as well. So asking the presenter is quite. See what you do. Imagine I'm a spokesperson, and just I say, I want to ask you a question, right? And I want to ask you, and also the people who are watching at home, this question: would you break the law to save your children's lives? And the presenter is left with no choice, because if he says yes, he's condoning our actions, and if he says no, he looks like a twat, right? So he's gonna skip the question and try and bypass the question. So imagine he's just done that, which he will automatically do, and then you call him out on it and say, since you won't answer this question, you want to skip it, I'm going to ask you at home: would you break the law to protect your children's lives? And then maybe read some climate science, please.
That's brilliant. Like, it sucks.
Do you like that?
Have to be in this situation, but
that's what I was planning to do at Spokes, but I got banned from talking about protesting. No, not anymore.
Wait, you
the day the ban ended, the podcast was born.
Interesting. I love it. That's
fuck,
so.
It's a big fuck you to her.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I I do the spokesperson stuff, but I think like we do need to be like pushing the boundaries and like not complying to their like bullshit questions. Like, I'm still in disbelief that I got asked on like national news, why don't you go protest in China? I laughed when I saw because I went to like the pub that evening with my friend because I hadn't watched it for like a few hours, and I like watched it, I was there, and I just like laughed at my answer. I was like, because I'm not in China. But yeah, I just think we need to like bypass their confines, but it's like balancing that with like, if we do it too much, will they like stop inviting us and stuff? Because Mark Austin did not like me after that. Because I made him look a bit... Well, I don't know. He because before I went on, he was like, right, we're not going to have a shouting match, are we? And then also, like seconds before we went live, he was just like watching the cricket, and he was saying to his producer, like, if we win, are we going to have to like stop the interview? Because it was like some important like game. And I was like, you're going to stop my interview to talk about like some cricket match? He did not care for my presence. And also it sucks because he brought out, if you Google him, which I did before, he had like a whole documentary about his daughter's struggle with anorexia.
Can you
So
do
I
me a
thought we could
favour,
have had,
right?
like,
Because
some kind
you're
of
currently
bonding
in the sports
experience.
team and I'm not. Will you use that line that I just gave you? Asking the presenter, would you break the law to
Yeah.
save your children's lives? And then waiting for him to dodge it and then asking the question directly to the public. Like try and look at the camera, try and find the camera they're filming you from and look directly into the camera.
Yeah. I'm just hoping we continue to get more interviews. Because I think also, yeah, we just need to keep up the work, really. Because I think also, like, in-person interviews, because there's a lot of interviews where we do them, and they are, like, obviously on a Zoom, and it's just not that real, like, in-person thing, and you don't get the opportunity to do, like, the more, like, I guess, impactful stuff, like when Zoe, like, sat on the floor to demonstrate, you know, like, direct action and stuff. Like, you just don't get those opportunities when it's just like
top of your head, pop it over the screen. Yeah. Oh.
And they can just mute you. Do you know what I mean? And like, yeah, but also when you go into that space and it's like you are in their space and it's like going to someone's house and like, you know, you kind of have to like take your shoes off if like that's what they do and stuff. It's like you have to like kind of comply, but it's like no, we cannot comply.
You start a podcast. What? Sorry, I think it's great why do you start a podcast?
Yeah. A podcast. I could. Oh my god! Do you know how many times I've thought about starting a podcast? Yeah, I should. No, I could. I should. I might. Well, and I could invite the presenters on. I could be like, "Hey, Mark,
probably not
come on my podcast." And then I'd be like, "Why don't you go present the news?" And you know, silly. I mean, I could do. Yeah, I've thought of starting a podcast so many times, and at uni we even have like a podcast.
I'm looking to branch out this podcast, and I'm in Manchester, and I can't go to London. Are you in London? You're in Exeter. I'm looking for people.
I'm in Exeter.
I am gonna buy a paid Zoom account, and I'm looking to start doing 4-person Zooms, and so it'll be me, a guest of mine, e.g. you, and then 2 other guests of my guest. And then it's like a little discussion.
I love that.
We're working on it. It's a technical thing right now. We're trying to work out the tech part.
Yeah. We need
listen.
Instagram lives.
I'm trying to get my head around all these social medias. Sorry, it's telling you to listen, but I'm trying to get my head around all these social medias.
Yeah.
And TikTok, Facebook. We're not even on Instagram. I don't even know. We're only posting We're posting shorts on TikTok, YouTube, TikTok and YouTube. But we need to branch out to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're on Twitter, but we're not posting. Anyway, I need help. I need a social media guru. And I need somebody on the ground where the action's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I did a bit of like live streaming for XR for the big one. I loved doing that. That was fun. It's like, I'm here live with a child dressed up as a polar bear. What do you think? It was great. I mean, it was a shame that, you know, we got like no media at all. But
I've been wanting to combine action and podcast.
I think that sounds fun.
Imagine someone podcasting from the top of an oil silo in Scotland with This Is Rigged. It would be pretty fucking great.
That would be great.
In my opinion. But I can't do any of this shit right now. So I'm just dreaming.
But you can put the foundations in place. Because no good house or school or whatever you're building.
Well, actually, my bail conditions specify that I can't take part in the planning of protest or the participation in protests. So, like, even if I was to plan a protest, I'd be in breach of my bail, which I would never do, just to be clear to everyone listening.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm a good boy. He follows his bail conditions.
Of course. Yes. No, it's very good. Well, it's not good, but you can do lots
No, I can't
of
do any
like,
planning.
I
Like I
guess.
said.
I don't know. No, you can't do. No, mentally you can. You can think. Not planning, thinking.
It might be.
Is thinking,
It
is
might
thinking
be.
illegal?
This government.
Thought
Yeah,
crime?
I mean, they made
What is
speech
this?
illegal. I couldn't have a conversation with the person sat next to me on the bus about
Yeah.
protesting without being breach of my bail conditions. Like, fuck, if they can do that, they can do whatever they want.
That's. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I just don't know why people aren't angry.
Most
Maybe
people don't
are
know.
Angry. But we're just. No. Do you think that like, because you know, there's all these like surveys about like how everyone's worried about climate change. You know what's the thing I want to talk to you about? I want to get your thoughts on, like, what is the role of celebrities? Because what annoys me, right, is when like a celebrity will like post like things like say they care about the climate crisis or do something, but it's like it's never like a pathway to action, right? It's always just like the climate crisis exists, but it's never like one step further. It's never like, okay, this is all my fans. Like, imagine if like, I don't know, Gary Lineker, for example. Like, obviously he like. I think he's good. No, he's good because he does like support us and everything. And we shouldn't have to rely on like the hierarchies or like celebritification of activism or whatever. But I don't know, just annoys me a little bit. Like, there's all these people who have like mass followings, and it's like
I
they
wrote
could have
David
such a strong
Attenborough a letter when I was in
even
prison.
if they just.
No, I don't know if he got. I hope he got it though.
Did you respond?
I wrote this is a letter from a climate activist on the front of the envelope. Like, this is a letter from a climate activist in prison on the front of the envelope, so that might have stopped him from getting it. I don't know. I just wanted to make sure he opened it. Listen, so we run over a little bit, and I've got somebody else coming on the show soon. So I'm going to give like another 5 minutes or something, and you can talk about anything that you feel like you've not had a chance to say in the show so far, like whatever that may be.
Gosh, I think I want to talk. Wow, that's a huge opening. No, it's been good to talk. I think, like, that sounds fun.
Everyone, stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. When this video comes out, I'll send it to you, and you can share it with your friends and family. And as always, I'm going to round up by saying, if you've watched this channel, you must understand that this is a very important issue. It is the issue of our time, and on this channel we're trying to share experiences of what it's like to be in that action, also push for radical climate action. So share, like, thumbs up, all the rest of it. Have a good night.
Amazing, thank you so much.
We are the tongue that speaks the truth. We are the song upon the wind. We are the courage to stand forth. We are the change that now begins. On this good green earth, we will take a stand with an open heart and a healing hand. With an open heart and a healing hand.